Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. So let's get started with this series, and today we'll jump into Docker Volume. So first of all, let's understand what is this Docker Volume. So if you open your Docker desktop, you can see we have container, images, and volumes. So volume is another section here in Docker desktop. What happens is Docker Volume helps us create like a storage inside our Docker, and this storage is actually persistent. So that means if you stop your Docker container or you restart your Docker container, then if the data of that container is stored in a volume, then the data persists. However, if you just simply stop or restart your an individual Docker container over here, then what will happen is you will lose all the data that's inside the container. A volume makes sure that this it stays persistent, and even on restart or recreate, the data persists. So that's one benefit of Docker containers. One more thing is it simplifies development workflow. So it implements something known as live reloading with Docker volume. So now if you open your VS Code, if you go into the front end, and if your front end is running on uh, your localhost 5000, sorry, localhost 3000, it's just running with a simple command of npm start, and when you make any change in the UI, you can see the changes reflect in the UI as well. If you make changes in your VS Code, you can see the changes reflect in the UI as well. Now, what volume allows us to do is, um, if you make changes in your local, then it would reflect in the container port, not only your local port, but in your containers port as well. So it's that level of configuring is possible with it, and that's why it's like it simplifies development workflows. This is also known as live reloading or hot reloading. And then different Docker containers can share the same volume as well. So it depends on how you're architecting your system. Do you want different, so each container is like its own microservice, and do you want all these microservices talking to the same volume, or each microservice should have its own volume, things like that. And then because of the data persistence feature, it basically allows for data backup and restore. So that's that. This is the command actually that we need to follow to make sure that our React front-end application at least handles the simplify development workflow. So let me first make you visualize it. If I go to my app.js, here you can see I've entered yo, and that's being shown here. So if I change yo to hello dear viewers, something like this, and if I hit save, and if I go back to our Chrome tab, you can see that there's no change here. Let me refresh it. And when I refresh it, we get hello dear viewers. And this is anyways from the backend API. So this is hot reload. And mind you, this is not happening from my local running application. This is happening to the application that is running on Docker container. So this one, it's running on port 4141s, and this is also on port 41s. So the changes that I'm making locally is all the way reflected there. Now, what is the benefit of live reload? So what happens is, if we go through our old Docker commands from our previous videos, you will see that to the process with Docker is little, it's not straightforward. You have to first build an image with changes, and then you have to run the image to see the changes. So that's the standard approach. So if you make some changes in your UI, you'll have to build the latest image to capture the latest changes, and then you'll have to run that. And by now you would have experienced and you would know that Docker takes so much time, and the building of images and running of images, they take time basically because Docker is very time consuming, space consuming, heavy application on your machine. So that's why live reload makes it so much more easier, and it does it. And how does it do it? That's the next question. So if you look at this, um, command over here, you can see you're running the Docker application to port 4 once, and here you're using -v to create a volume. And pwd is the command. It's a Windows command for capital PWD. For Mac, it should be small pwd. And what pwd basically is trying to tell you is that pwd mounts your current front-end project directory to app inside the container. And we are doing similar thing for node modules as well, because we're trying to separate out node modules folder from the app folder. Why we need to do that is because if you do not implement this step, then the live reload will take more time, because it also refreshes the node modules. So that leads to installing the node modules again onto the Docker environment, and that usually takes time. And then we have to define two environment variables here. One is Chokidar use polling. We have to set it to true, and watch pack polling and set it to true. Now, if you are working with React application, then we know that React application uses the React module, which is the Webpack module. And inside the Webpack module, we have the watch pack polling. So if you go to your front-end applications package.json, here you can see in the scripts you have start. And what this watchpack polling and Chokidar polling, use polling, they do is they keep a track of this over here. And every time they sense a change in your local machine, then this change goes into the app and app node modules. And how does it go into that? It again boils down to our Docker file, because we're copying the data from our local to the volume over here. So if I go to the running container and if I open front end image, and here if I go to terminal, here you can see the terminal, and you can do ls, and then you can choose directories and stuff, and then you can do ls again. And here I can um, cat the application code. And then so here you can see that whatever changes I make in my local, they start getting reflected onto the Docker, because it's mapped. We are moving all of our data from the local to the Docker image. So that's what's happening here. And by implementing this, you can implement live reload. So these are the benefits with Docker volume. In the next video tutorial, we'll go through Docker Compose, and you'll see how it's much more beneficial when we're working with multiple containers. So thank you, and see you later. Thank you.